Donald Trump's approval ratings are slipping. This is especially the case regarding his foreign policy. Only 41% of Americans say they approve, and 54% of Americans say they disapprove his handling of foreign affairs. Who's running U.S. foreign policies these days? What are the biggest decisions that Trump will have to make soon? And what do they mean for your money? Steve Witkoff, Trump's special envoy, must be the hardest working man in the Trump cabinet. Witkoff was Trump's point man on the Gaza ceasefire negotiations. He has since become the main American interlocutor with the Russians about the Ukraine war. Since February, Witkoff has met with Putin no less than 3 times, and their last meeting was said to have lasted 5 hours. Last week, Witkoff became the most senior American official to meet with Iranian officials since John Kerry under the Obama administration. Steve Witkoff has emerged as America's unofficial Secretary of State. He appears to be doing the job that Marco Rubio signed up to do, as the top diplomat of the United States. Witkoff was a real estate developer, while Rubio served as the top Republican on the Senate Intelligence Committee and a longtime member on the Senate Foreign Relations Committee. What is it that Trump sees in Witkoff that he's putting both Rubio and Mike Waltz, his national security advisor, on the bench for the big games? What does it tell us about how U.S. foreign policy is conducted under Trump 2.0? It is an understatement to say that Trump did not have an easy relationship with his foreign policy team in his first term. Trump fired Rex Tillerson, his first Secretary of State, in 2018. He fired H.R. McMaster, his national security advisor, in 2017, and dumped John Bolton, McMaster's successor, a year later. Trump seemingly got along with Mike Pompeo, Tillerson's successor, but after his 2024 victory, he publicly ruled out Pompeo's candidacy for a spot in his new cabinet, and in January had Pompeo's security detail removed. In a way, Rubio was not an obvious pick for Trump. Rubio has political ambition to be president one day, and he does not see eye to eye with Trump on some issues. He was the co-sponsor of a bill that requires 2/3 of the Senate to ratify a unilateral withdrawal of the U.S. from NATO. If Trump needs Rubio for the credibility that he brings to his cabinet, Witkoff serves a very different purpose. Witkoff's friendship with Trump goes back to the 1980s, when he worked as a real estate lawyer at a firm that represented Trump. The legend goes that the two met at a deli over a ham and cheese sandwich. I suspect the prominent role that Witkoff is playing in U.S. foreign policy is less about his diplomatic savvy than about the fact that Trump trusts him. My guess is that Witkoff is no more than a messenger for Trump, who's running U.S. foreign policy all by himself. If Witkoff is just Trump's mouthpiece on foreign policy, then we might be able to glean from what he says about Trump's true intentions. Following his latest meeting with Putin, Witkoff said that we might be on the verge of something very important for the world. He reportedly said during a debrief at the White House that the fastest way to stop the war in Ukraine is to cede to Russia the 5 Ukrainian regions that Russia has annexed. There are 2 things about these pronouncements that are deeply troubling, regardless where your sympathies lie in the war. 1, it took Witkoff 3 meetings for Putin to establish what is obvious to every observer of the Russia-Ukraine war about Putin's red lines. 2, regardless how Trump might feel about Putin's demand of international recognition of Russian sovereignty over Crimea, Donetsk, Luhansk, Kherson, and Zaporizhia, there is no chance that Ukraine, Europe, or the US Congress for that matter, would agree to it right now. What these pronouncements by Witkoff say to me is that Trump is no closer to stopping the war in Ukraine than he was 3 months ago. Trump has invested considerable political capital into ending the war in Ukraine. His overture to Russia over the past 3 months has ruptured transatlantic relations and provided fodder to his critics at home. The million-dollar question is, how much longer can Trump hold back the Russia hawks in Washington? Put differently, how much more time does Trump have before he has to take away the carrot and use the stick with Putin? Zelensky certainly is not making it easy for Trump. Despite a drop in U.S. aid, Ukrainian defense, with the help of drones, is for the most part holding up. The Russians are advancing in eastern Ukraine, but it is a slow and grinding advance. After months of fighting, Russian forces still don't have full control of Toretsk and Chasiv Yar. In the coming battles for the control of Lyman, Siversk, and Pokrovsk will take many months. What's more, Ukraine's parliament overwhelmingly voted this week to extend martial law until August, delaying the timing of new elections that the US and Russia have been pushing for. Trump campaigned on ending the war in Ukraine. The lack of progress exposes him to increasing attacks that he's allowing Putin to play him for time. This current state of play is unsustainable. I see two possible paths in the coming weeks. Both paths will lead to an increase in geopolitical risks. In the first path, the Russia hawks take over the driver's seat. Rubio said 2 weeks ago in Europe that the US is running out of patience with Moscow. He said that Russia has weeks and not months to demonstrate its intention with respect to peace. Rubio and others inside the Trump cabinet could mount a challenge to Trump's policy on the Ukraine war and push for a more aggressive approach to dealing with Russia. This path would increase geopolitical risk and support gold prices. In the second path, Trump, to buy time for his Russia policy, will continue his combative approach to China over the trade war. It could be argued that the escalating tension between the US and China over the past 2 weeks is evidence that Trump has already chosen the second path. All of a sudden, Trump's appeasement of Putin looks smart, as though it was always calculated to isolate China. This path is also bullish for gold, as geopolitical risks mount. During the 2024 elections, Trump accused Biden of driving the world towards World War III. What the last 3 months have shown is that peace is easier said than done. And what about Iran? Is Trump so desperate for peace that he's willing to make a deal with Iran's Islamic regime that is the largest sponsor of terrorists in the world? Following his meeting with Iran on April 2nd, Witkoff said in an interview on Fox that the discussions with Iran aim to limit Iran's uranium enrichment at 3.67% for civil nuclear purposes. This immediately triggered an outcry among Republicans, as the 3.67% cap was a key component of the 2015 Iran nuclear deal negotiated by the Obama administration that Trump had walked away from. 12 hours later, Witkoff climbed down and said that an agreement would require Iran to stop and eliminate its nuclear enrichment and weaponization program altogether. Axios ran a story about a Situation Room meeting at the White House on Tuesday to discuss Iran negotiations. It reported an intense debate at the meeting, with Witkoff and Vance said to be in favor of a compromise with Iran, while Rubio and Waltz argue for a maximalist approach. Is it possible that Witkoff was simply making the case at the meeting on behalf of Trump? The New York Times reported this week that Trump had waved off a planned Israeli attack on Iran's nuclear weapons program in May. Whoever is responsible for the leak to the Times clearly has doubts as to whether Trump has the stomach to go through with such an attack. No doubt, Trump has a difficult decision to make on Iran. A strike on Iran might end the dialogue with Moscow that Trump has been so eager to reestablish. 2 weeks ago, the Russian deputy foreign minister warned that a US strike on Iran would be met by catastrophic consequences, a veiled threat that could be read as signaling Moscow's readiness to come to Tehran's aid. Trump also has to contend with the isolationist wing of the MAGA movement. Tucker Carlson declared last week that a strike on Iran would mean that thousands of Americans would die. We would lose the war that follows. Nothing could be more destructive for our country. There's also the economy to consider. Oil price could spike on an Iran attack, especially if it lasts a week, as the Israeli plan envisages, according to the New York Times. It is understandable why Trump might want to buy some time on Iran. But this does not change the fact that Iran is on the verge of nuclear breakout. The risks of actions on Iran can be exaggerated. Certainly, that thousands of Americans would die is laughable. For one thing, Iran is already on its knees, with its economy in a free fall and its proxies in the region greatly weakened. It has no ability to hit back. Moreover, if Israel takes the lead on the attack, it would remove the excuse for Russia and China to get involved. Timing is everything. I think it was a mistake for Trump to focus the first 100 days of his presidency on trying to end the Ukraine war instead of dealing with Iran. Ending the war in Ukraine is complicated. In comparison, taking out Iran's nuclear weapons program could be a walk in the park. My prediction is that Trump will make a pivot soon. The 2-month ultimatum Trump gave to Iran ends on May 19th. I will be holding my breath until then. Thank you for listening.